Alright, and here is the video review for the last night Voyager Megatron. I've been looking for him for a while, thanks to my friend Michael, who gave me a heads up, is how what was going on there in my brain, that one of the Walmarts on the other side of town, it was a good 35-minute drive away, had him and Hound in stock, and they had more than one of each, so after work I went ahead and drove up there, and actually had a pretty fun little adventure up in Short Pump, but found, finally, Voyager Megatron. And I gotta say, in my opinion, this guy is superior to the leader in just about every way. The one drawback here in vehicle mode is he does have some leg kibble under the wings. It's not super distracting. It doesn't drive me nuts. I know there are some people that aren't happy with it. Because the leader does, as you can see, have a very clean underside wing. And so it's got that going for it. I mean, you can see it's much larger than the Voyager, but Voyager's just about the right size for me, for some of these figures. Like, both in difficulty of transformation, steps involved in transformation, ease of play, and just for a larger figure, for a leader class, for a leader character, I like the Voyagers. I like for leader class to be, they call it leader class, so you almost kind of feel like they have to stick people like Prime and Megatron up in that size class. And for some of them, they're not bad. But like I said, I'd like to see that go back to like the Supreme class, where it was bigger guys like Primus and Metroplex and things like that. But that's just me. Anyway, personal feelings on size classes aside, the Voyager's great. He doesn't have the battle mass gimmick that the leader has, but outside of that, I just like him so much more. One, for some reason, he feels heavier than the leader, even in a smaller size. Now, I know that's not the case. It's a issue of relativity, because he is very light and hollow for his size, whereas he feels like he's compact and solid, even at a smaller size class. I know if I put them on a scale, the leader would probably weigh a little bit more, but he just feels heftier in the hand. So I'll go ahead and pull his sword off here. It plugs on the back just like the leader class. Little tab there on the back. And we'll get to transforming him. So we'll go ahead and pop these panels here. Lift up. I've also managed to not spoil myself on how this guy transforms, which makes me really happy, because I like to have that first in-hand experience with how everything works. Go ahead and pull the legs out here like this. Lift these panels up. Untab the arms from the backpack here. Rotate them around. Now like this. We'll come up here. Actually, we don't want to do that yet. So yeah, bring this up. This whole assembly, or these actually fold out to the side here. And then this whole assembly will come up. I want to make sure these stay open. These will be his chest panels here. So fold this up in half like this, and then we can bring the legs all the way down. Fold these panels down. Also, these are solid plastic. Well, I guess they're not super solid, but they're not as rubbery as the ones on the leader class. And these panels rotate around on this hip pin right here to form the hip armor. And again, I like him having the thrusters here down on, kind of off to the side, like they could be boosters. That's just me. The foot comes down like this, and then you flatten the foot, and then the wing folds around and tabs into the sides. The wing kind of forms like a calf muscle there, a robotic calf muscle. Kind of like Bumblebee, with his little rear end pieces there that come up into the shins. So tab all that in. Stand them up. We'll come up here to the upper half. And then these come around, and these little chest panels, there's a little tab here that goes into the slot here on the chest. So bring those around and tab those in. Bring the arm down, flip out his fist. Same over here. And take his fusion cannon, hinge it up to the side of his arm, flip down the tip. Like that. And then this piece folds down onto his back. Like that. Then we turn his head around, and there is Megatron in robot mode. He does have some ankle tilt there, which is nice. I just kind of pushed him down. He flattened himself. At least flattened his feet. Give him his sword, And there he is. He's a little monochromatic. There is some bits picked out in gold over his body, and there's some lighter gray pieces, but they're not so light. Like from a distance, he does look very just solid chunk of gray. When you're up close, you can see a little bit more detail, like some of the darker bits picked out on his chest and the gold. And again, the lighter gray stands out a little bit more as you have him in hand and hold him a little closer. And I'm like, being a Cybertronian jet, I wish this was a design we'd gotten from movie 1, because this just feels like Megatron to me, at least more than like Megatron movie-wise. Because he's menacing, he's got a pretty cool jet mode, he's got more of what I consider a standard Megatron fusion cannon, even better than the leader class. Because the leader has the whole cockpit kind of fold up, and I like more. This looks more like a traditional Megatron arm cannon, and I dig it. So, like I said, if this had been Megatron from movie 1, I would not have had nearly as many complaints about his design. But yeah, so he's got a side-to-side head, a little bit of an up and down. Looks like that may be a ball joint actually in the neck. A little limited due to the sculpt of it, but he can turn side to side. He does have his side horns, but they don't collapse like they do into the battle mask on the leader. Now, that's the one thing I think the leader has over him, which I believe I mentioned. He does have hollow forearms like the leader, but you can't see all the way through them like you can on the leader. So, and again, smaller size. I'm willing to make more concessions on things like that in a smaller price point, when it would have been so easy to make those at least have wrist swivel on the leader. Anyway, so he's got the ball joint head, he's got the swivel shoulders, as well as these little panels can come up and the arms can come out on the side as well. Plug this back in. No wrist swivel. It does have elbows that go a little over 90 degrees. Actually, this one comes up a little higher. But no waist swivel. That is a little bit of a drawback. Hinge hips in both directions, thigh swivel, and hinge knees, which again to about 90 degrees. And because of transformation, he does have some ankle tilt there, which is nice. Because it's super functional for transformation, and it's a pretty robust and easy to use ankle tilt here in robot mode. Just like I said, just overall, I feel a better design. He doesn't feel over-engineered in the way that the leader class did, especially for the lack of electronics and the kind of janky nose cone gimmick. I just think he's overall a much better figure. Now, I've heard about the Weijang or Weijang or Weijiang, however you say it, oversized version of the Voyager. I've heard good things about it. I don't know if I'm going to get it because, again, one, I like the Voyager class. I really, really do. That's about the size I like to play with. You start getting bigger than that, and it's almost no fun. Not entirely. I know some people dig bigger figures, but when I look at this versus something like Terminus Giganticus, he's huge. Like he's huge and imposing, and he's going to look great on a shelf. But I don't want to play with 11 pounds of toy. I just don't. And on to some quick size comparisons here. Here he is with his leader class version. If I can get him to stand. And I will say this about the leader. I don't like his fusion cannon with the nose cone from this giant side. I don't mind the shape of it so much from the front. If it had this shape, because this one does feel I mentioned that this one seems more like a stupid hips. Feels more like a traditional Megatron arm cannon. Like, it is a little smallish side. I like to see it to be a little bit bigger. Maybe not quite as big as that, but the general shape from the front of that doesn't bother me so much. It's just a giant chunk from various side things. Like, I still do prefer the Voyager. Man, his stupid hips are just killing me. All right, anyway, you get the idea of how those two look together now. So I'm just going to get him out of here. You lose. Sorry, Leader Megatron. You just aren't good. Just for fun, here he is with his Voyager self from the previous movie. Even though, this was Galvatron, and that's a whole different can of worms. But I had him when I was digging up figures to do size comparisons with. I figured, why not? And of course, here he is with the Voyager Optimus. And these two look great together. I really like both of these in Voyager form. Optimus Prime obviously is much better than the leader, although a little more forgiving of that this time around, since the Voyager isn't a brand new mold where they could have learned some things from the last movie, whereas the leader Prime for for Last Night is just the Age of Extinction leader redone, repainted. So a little understandable that he'd be a little bit more engineered versus Megatron, where this is his first design in this body. But don't, unless you just have to have them, don't blow your money on the leaders. These two guys here in Voyager form are a lot of fun. They're both very solid. And I think you're just going to get more enjoyment out of them. But anyway, there he is. Super stoked to finally have him. Now I just need Nitro Zeus and I might be done with movie toys. But there's Voyager Megatron.